Hey, what's up? Ian here, and today I'd like to talk about this FiiO Fx15. It is a multi-driver IEM. It's got one dynamic driver, one balance armature, and 4 electrostatic drivers inside. The retail price for this is $750. It's available on FiiO's website. So if you guys are interested to find out more, do check out the unaffiliated link in the description below. Now, I've already unboxed this IEM, so if you guys are curious what accessories comes with this IEM, do check out my unboxing video. I'll leave the link to my video somewhere up here. Okay, but in this video I'm just going to focus on my sound impression of this IEM and the sound performance, and also I'll compare it with some other IEMs that I have right here, the T Audio Mark II, Moondrop variations, and also the QOA Margarita. Okay, so these are the IEMs that I'm going to compare with, so stay tuned for that segment. So let's begin with my review. First, let's talk about the specifications for this IEM. As I mentioned, there are 3 drivers. There's one 10mm DLC dynamic driver. The balance armature is from Knowles, and the 4 electrostatic drivers are from Sonyon. Okay, the frequency range is 20 to 40,000 Hz, impedance is 24 ohms, and the sensitivity is 103. Okay, so that's for the specifications of this IEM. Now let's now talk about the drivability for this IEM. Well, this IEM is actually pretty easy to drive. All right, I've been listening to it at a very comfortable level of 30%, and if I want to have a little bit more fun, I'll listen to it at about 40%. And I've been driving it with my DABs, my dongles, my iPhone, my iPad, okay, so, and my MacBook as well. So it's very easy to drive, no issues with that. Now, in terms of gear matching, I would recommend things or source that are balanced sounding or natural sounding. Okay, so things like the M15S. I've been using this with the FiiO M15S every day, right? And they run this quite well, and they match it quite well. And also the Quest style M15, right? So this also matches it quite well. If you want to run it with a bit more warmth, all right, the iPods gives it quite a bit of warmth, but it will sound a little bit too rounded. So yeah, don't really recommend warm, but it's okay, you still can run. And also the Shanling M0 Pro. This one is a bit too sharp for it, a little bit too dry for it as well. So you'll give, I mean, it will reflect the character of the source. So this, because it's got multi-drivers in there, it does reproduce quite a bit of, it's quite a contortionist lah. Basically, it can adapt to a lot of source. So yeah, if you were to give it a bit more dryness, it will become, well, a bit more dry. Okay, so I would recommend something that is more balanced. Okay, alright, so that's for gear matching. Now let's talk about the tone and timbre for this. Basically, this is more of a casual sounding, right? It's the note weight of this is not too heavy, not too light, and the tonality of this is a bit warm and natural sounding. It's quite a mature sound, right? So it's not really a fun casual sounding. It's some sort of a mature adult casual sounding type of IEM. Okay, now let's talk about the technicalities of this, and this is where I feel that this Fx15 is worth that $750 and is the technical performance of this IEM. This is a very, very good performing IEM and very resolving IEM. So the overall technical performance of this IEM will outshine a lot of IEMs, and based on this price, at this price point. The soundstage is very, very wide, very big soundstage, a lot of space, very spacious. All this, my instruments, when I'm listening to orchestras and all that, instruments are very well laid out and well spaced out as well, and the imaging is fantastic on this. I can hear the layers very clearly, and the sound seems to come from outside my head, and it's got like a very big room, something like a concert hall type of space. At the same time, it gives me that perception that I'm in that space at that moment, because I've been commuting with this in the bus, in the the subway and all that, and I can hear the sound coming from all sides. So very good soundstage. The detail retrieval on this is, well, it's not a detail monster, alright. Basically this is quite a casual sounding IEM, so it's not a detail monster, but it does, you know, have that details there, enough and sufficient nuances. In fact, I can pick up the pin drops at the back. It's not a very clean sound, but I can hear it because it's quite a capable driver, I would say. Now, in terms of the overall resolution of this IEM, it's a very resolving IEM, and it's one of the cleanest and most resolving IEM that I've heard so far. Okay, so that's for the technicalities of this IEM. Now let's talk about the sound signature for this IEM, and let me just bring up my graph and show you guys the graph. Alright, so this is the graph of the Fx15, and as you can see, this is quite a balanced tuning. It's almost close to Harman, except for a few quirks somewhere at the treble area, but other than that, is quite Harmonish. Now the sub bass is actually very close to Harman. That's why I say the tone in terms of the weight, the note weight of the overall tone is not too heavy and not too light as well. It's a little bit on the warm side as well. And one thing I like about this is that the rumble is very extended, and I can physically feel the rumble in my ears. So a very good, warm, pleasing rumble, I would say. I wouldn't say earth-shaking, but yeah, it's quite rumbly lah, and I can feel it. Now in terms of mid bass is forward, and it's got good punch and very impactful. So it's above the Harman target, as you can see. So it's a bit more mid bass as what people are used to, or the average people will be used to. So expect a lot of punch, a lot of impact, and the slam itself is really hard. Okay, so, and it's warm as well. So yeah, it's a very forward and prominent mid bass lah. I mean, that's good and bad. So if for those of you who likes a lot of impact, a lot of connection to your tracks, then this is a good tuning for it. Now in terms of the mids, mids are recessed. As you can see, it's a U-shape lah. It's basically a U-shape tuning. Not very V, but it's still a U-shape tuning. And instruments, they are clear, they are clean. They have got that nice tone to it as well. It's warm. It's more of a casual tone, but overall it's still recessed, and it's a little bit veiled by the mid bass. Okay, so yeah, the clarity is there, but it's just veiled because mid bass is quite prominent in the entire mix itself. Okay, now in terms of the vocals, male vocals, they sound really good on this. They've got good authority, good forwardness, good engagement. They sound pretty natural, and I enjoyed listening to male vocals on this. But for female vocals, they sound bright. Okay, female vocals, they sound bright. They've got that energy there. They've got that sparkle there. It's just that the tonality of the female vocals sound a little bit odd. All right, female vocals tend to sound a little bit spicy, and at the same time they sound hollowed out. Some sort of like a, you have not much of a body to the delivery of their voice, something like that, but that's what my ears hear. Okay, so that's for female vocals. Now for the upper mids, or the gain to the treble, now basically this part here is a little bit odd in terms of the overall tonality of the treble, or the gain to the treble. As I mentioned, the gain to the treble, this lacks a little bit of that body. It sounds a little bit hollowed, a bit hollowed out. It's bright, it's energetic, don't get me wrong. In fact, it's a little bit spicy on top. As you can see, the peak actually happens at 2.5K. So just imagine when you are listening to this IEM, this is the most prominent frequency that is, blasting in your ears. So yeah, basically it's a bit spicy lah. Okay, so, and that affects the female vocals and make them sound a little bit on the hot side. Okay, so for the presence is bright. Okay, it's a good brightness. It's not the brightest, it's not overly done as well. In fact, it's just nice, and quite forward. The treble is quite forward. My cymbal strikes and hi-hats, they've got good presence, and basically they sound quite nice. right? And the air as well. Oh well, before I talk about the air, there's the mid treble. Over here, you see a spike. Now this is actually my coupler's artifact. It's not really a spike. I don't hear any sibilance. I do hear the hotness of the Pina gain. I don't hear the sibilance of this IM, so it's not sibilant at all. Okay, and of course it rolls off pretty naturally. There's no weird spikes at the tail end, so very natural roll off of the treble. Okay, so that's the overall tuning of this FX15, and I would say this is actually quite suitable for a lot of genre music, and also classical and orchestras, and most of the more analytical sound. I mean, you can listen to them because this is a very capable IM, even though the tuning does not allow this IM to let you enjoy some of the genre of music, but because of the capability and the technical performance of this IM, you can actually listen and hear the actual sound separation and the stage and the details as well, even though it's not the correct tonality of it. But yeah, it sounds good lah. Okay, basically. For $750, I think if it does not adapt to a lot of genres, then I think it's not worth that $750. But I feel that it's worth that $750 because it's a very, very good performer in terms of the overall resolution and the quality of the sound that it produces. Okay, so yeah, very good for well, mainstream music, mostly mainstream music, trance, techno not so much. Okay, but it's not a bass hit type of IM. All right, don't get me wrong. There's still the rumble there. There is still the mid bass, but it's not really a bass hit type of IM. And heavy metal, they all sound really good on this IM. So for all this, right, my star rating for this IM is 4 stars out of 5. Right, so this is a very good performer in terms of the overall performance and what I hear from this IM. So 4 stars out of 5. Okay. Right, so that's for this FX15. Let me just bring out the other IMs that I want to compare with. Okay, first let's compare it with the FiiO Mark II. Now, in terms of technical performance, the FX15 outshines the FiiO Mark II. It's got wider soundstage, more clarity, it's more resolving, and the overall sound separation and the imaging is fantastic. Oh, one thing I want to mention is that this is also very good for gaming. I did some light gaming, not very heavy gaming on this, and the sound separation on this and the overall imaging and the positioning of you know, this IM is really good, really fantastic, really good for gaming. Okay, so as back to the FiiO Mark II. So basically this, right, I mean, the FiiO Mark II, it is also a good performer, right? It's just not as technical as the FX15, right? But the FiiO Mark II has got better tonality. It's more balanced in terms of the tonal balance, and also the correctness of the tonal performance of this FiiO Mark II is better than the FX15. Okay, right, so that's for the FiiO Mark II. Now let's compare it with the Moondrop variation. Now the Moondrop variation, hands down, right, has got the most correct and most natural tonal balance of all the IEMs that I've tried here. This has got the most natural sound. It produces the most natural sound that I've heard so far. When I listen to this, it's like, wow, that really sounds correct. That is exactly how a piano should sound, how a violin should sound. That voice, I can identify that voice with her tone, with his tone, the way he sings, his soprano. It sounds correct. So the tonal balance on this variation is the best so far. Okay, but okay, so comparing with the FX15, basically the technical performance, again, the FX15 beats the variation hands down. Okay, so I would say this is a very, very good performer again in terms of technical performance lah. Very, very good. It's just that it loses out to the variation in terms of the overall musicality and the tonality of the tracks that I was listening to. Okay, right, so that's for the variations. And last but not least, this is the QOA Margarita. Now the QOA Margarita is all over the place. Firstly, in terms of tech, the soundstage is quite narrow and quite, I would say, intimate. Okay, I mean, it's quite a technical performance. It's quite a good and resolving IEM. It's just that it's a bit, in terms of soundstage, soundstage is a little bit odd, a bit not really natural type of soundstage. At the same time, the tonality of this IEM is a bit off as well. It sounds a bit honky, it sounds a bit dark, and the overall, presentation of the sound to my ears is not really natural. Okay, so in terms of the technical performance, the FX15 is better than the Margarita. At the same time, the overall musicality and the tonality is also better than the Margarita. Okay, right, so that's my overall comparison with these three IEM. I would say out of all this actually have the same configurations when it comes to driver setup. In terms of price, the D-Audio Mark II is the most expensive. These two, I mean, to be fair, the variations and the Margarita is lower price than the FX15. So this one should perform better than this two lah. That's a given because it's more expensive, right? But what surprised me was this, Mark II. So the Mark II actually, there's a good and bad thing. It's $1,000 IEM, and the thing that sets this two apart is actually the tonal balance, right? It sounds more natural on the Mark II, but the FX15 is not very far off lah. Okay, I mean it's quite close to it, but I would still give the tonal balance to the Mark II. Okay, but you see the price difference is $250 different, right? It's cheaper, right? The FX15 is $250 cheaper than the Mark II. Okay, so that's my point lah. Okay, you're just getting that 1% less, in terms of the tonal balance. All right, and that concludes my overall review and impression of this FiiO FX15. I hope you guys enjoyed watching this video and learned something from this video, and if you did, please give this video a thumbs up, and also please don't forget to subscribe to my channel. So that's it for now. I hope you guys have a great day ahead, and I'll see you again in my next video. Cheers.